Hello, I'm Monty Beetham. This is Once a Warrior, and today I'm with an absolute fan favourite, Stephen Price. How are you, my man?
Very good, Monty. How are you?
Very good. I'm just going to say, Pricey, a New Zealand Order of Merit. You made New Zealand your home post-career for a very long time. A lot of people actually thought you were a Kiwi. Your thoughts on that?
That's humbling, mate. That's the way we wanted to sort of experience the whole New Zealand thing. And, you know, for everyone to think that I was a Kiwi, that obviously meant that we felt very comfortable, we were very welcomed. And the biggest humbling moment that I felt in my time in New Zealand was when I played for Australia at Mount Smart against the Kiwis. And when they read my name out, the crowd went nuts, and I'm in the Australian jersey. So I'd never seen that, I'd never heard that. But I just thought, wow, this is so special.
Oh, you made an impact, that's for sure. Now, where are you located now? What's your job? What's keeping you busy? You know, I think that's probably going to understand where you are as a result of that.
Yeah, mate, well, I'm living on the Sunshine Coast, but at the moment I FIFO work over in Western Australia. So just on a half day and, just in my room. So they're not real big, but they're our home for 26 days out of the month, and then get to go home to the real house.
All right, mate, you had a career full of highlights, and there was plenty in the Warriors jumper, so let's take a look at those.
Stephen Price, a modern-day legend. Price hits it up for the Warriors. Good carry, great carry. Good run here by Price. Oh, great run, Stephen Price. Price, he got there, oh yes! Here's Price into the gap, he gets across. Price bumps off from one, and look at him run! To Price, he puts the hip in, gets it away! Price got there to charge it down, that's inspirational! Speaking of Hercules, look at Price, right on cue! Stephen Price, oh yeah! He'll remember this for a long time to come!
Pricey, plenty of highlights in the Warriors jumper. What memories does that bring back?
Oh, there's plenty of memories there, mate. When I was at the Bulldogs and I played against the Warriors, all I wanted to do was play in front of the Mount Smart crowd as a home player, because it was very daunting and very challenging as an away player. And I got to do that so many times, and it was an unbelievable place to play rugby league. The fans were amazing, and every time I went out on Mount Smart playing for the Warriors was such a memorable moment. The boys would always play well. The crowd would always get into it. The weather would always turn it on one way or the other. I really got excited every time we'd score a try walking back to the south of the North Stand. And I'd smile, and I had a white mouth guard, so everyone had known. They'd all go nuts. Everyone's sitting in those areas, and I'd clap them, you know, because it was just so good. It'd be pouring rain. It'd be -2 chill factor. But the Warriors fans were out there supporting the boys, and so made a difference to us. And, there was some memorable moments in all those teams that I played in.
You had a great career, 91 games at the Warriors, but let's go back to the very start. It was 2004. It was myself, Owen Good and Bill, Stacey Jones, part of that leadership crew going, we need some help. Stephen Price is potentially in the mix to get bought. So is Ruben Wiki. We're like, just get one of them. We need them. When did you first hear about it? Do you remember the videos that we would do individually for you?
Oh, I do, mate. And I'd never put myself into a scenario to be in that situation to make a decision. I was really happy at the Bulldogs. And then, when the opportunity came up about the Warriors, really interested, always had a lot of respect for the club. I got your videos, and I'd never heard of anything being done like that before. So, you know, to have you guys say what would feel like to have Steve Price play in the same team as the New Zealand Warriors was really, really humbling. And it's not the complete reason why I decided to come over, but it certainly helped. One of my last games for the Bulldogs was in New Zealand against the Warriors, and I'd signed. Yeah, that day the butcher sort of said good day to me, and the crowd were into me, but sort of half going a bit more in my favour, and sort of gave me a little bit of a, welcome. And I know you and Owen and everyone was shooting out the line and trying to whack me. I think we won pretty easy that day just because I just keep on tipping it on and used to leave holes everywhere.
What about the fact that you've also got Ruben Wiki in the mix and that we were chasing him? Did you know that we were chasing him as well?
Yeah, I had been told that you guys were after Rubes as well. And as soon as I heard that, I was probably sick of playing against him and I would love to have played with him. And yeah, when I heard that, I thought, far out, you know, if we could both go to that club, I know how much young Kiwi kids look up to Rubes, and to have a player like him at the club and to be there as well would have been something special. So I don't think the club banked on getting both of us, but they did. And yeah, it was amazing 6 years as a player, and I think about 4 or 5 with Rubes, and absolutely enjoyed it every moment that I got to play, you know, with him rather than against him. An amazing family man, community man, very proud of where he comes from. And yeah, it taught me so much about so many other things that I never really thought about. And one of the things really quickly was, you know, the boys struggle with the weather sometimes, which I couldn't believe. I thought that would be our real asset for us. And so one day Rubes just ran out the Mount Smart tunnel out the backfield, and he dove into the biggest puddle you could dive into. It was the coldest day. It was raining. And I'm just going, what a lunatic. But you know what? After that, it was a race to get the wettest, the quickest every single time we trained. So something that was a bit of a hurdle for all the boys mentally, all those young boys mentally, Rubes just took that out with one action.
What was sort of potentially in the back of your mind going, oh, maybe I don't want to go over to the club?
The biggest one was family. I was very, not concerned, but my biggest fear was Joe and the kids wouldn't feel comfortable and you know, wouldn't adapt to the New Zealand lifestyle. Mate, I've got to look back on our time, 13 years in New Zealand, and we'd still be there if our family were in New Zealand, put it that way. It was such an amazing experience, and, you know, the kids have still got some really close friends and ties in New Zealand, and if it wasn't for COVID, we'd still be getting back there really often. We're looking to get back there now as much as we can.
Let's talk about your leadership style first. Where did that come from? What type of leader were you? Because, I mean, you're ever present on the field.
When I signed with the Warriors, I didn't expect to be the captain. So when I come over, I just assumed that Rubes was going to be the captain. And then when I was decided to be captain, I was, again, very humbled by it. Coming back from a knee injury at the Bulldogs, I didn't get a pre-season game in. I hadn't trained with you guys at all. Coming up against Manly, I think I took the 2 at one stage, and every one of you come racing at me. I think even the boys from the bench wanted to come at me and say, what are we doing? But it was a club that I'd seen have so much success, but then also off the back of it, it all of a sudden fall away too very quickly. So very inconsistent, and trying to get that consistency at the club was one of my things that I was really focused on. But learning a lot was obviously the diversity of the cultures, and having had to deal a lot with that. You know, really relied a lot on Rubes and Arwen and Stacey, and I learnt so much, mate, of how much you've got to empower each individual to show their leaderships in a way. Just because you've got a title beside your name doesn't mean you're the one stop. And we saw that obviously through Simon Mannering when he took over after me. I thought he did a fantastic job of just being yourself. That's my leadership style. Don't change who you are. If I needed to say something or I felt I needed to say something, I would. I hope that the players wouldn't take that in a personal perspective. I wouldn't ever try to single anyone out in front of everyone else. It was a time when I was a bit more mature, had so many kids coming through. I actually really enjoyed that extra responsibility.
Let's talk about Simon Mannering. You saw his journey come through. He wasn't a natural captain, but he was one of the finest, probably if not the finest, for the club. Any insight to what made this man so great for our club?
Yeah, I just think, you know, how humble he is, and obviously his personality. He gets on well with everybody. There's no one, I've never heard anyone say a bad thing. I never saw Simon play one bad game. And that's really important as a leader, is to be leading in the way that you want the boys to be following. And he did that so well. And I think the greatest credit for him is he didn't change as a young man, you know, and he got those opportunities to be a leader quite young super player and super fella.
Okay, man, I want to know about your KPIs or your goals or your mindset going into a game as a prop now, because you were also the Dalian prop in 2007 when you're at your best.
Yeah, mate. One of the things that I always looked at, people always felt as though that I was worried about stats. Stats for me were just a guideline. I knew that if I was in the game and involved in the game, that was when I was playing well. So stats, all they did for me was point out that my involvement in the game was high. That was either getting touches, getting tackled, making tackles, offloads, whatever it might have been. And the more that I was involved in the game, the better I was playing. So I look at changing some things just a little bit, because to have lasted as long as I did, you can't be the same all the time, because they work you out. And once they work you out, then you don't come up with something new, you're just going to get left behind. And, I like charging kicks down. I liked all those extra effort areas. I knew that if I could put the kicker off, our fullback could catch it on the full, and there's a hit up I didn't have to do. Those are sort of the ways I used to think about things. I know to get me back on side 2 or 3 tackles after I probably should have been there, but I knew that we'd be down further down the field than what we would have been if I had to let Joey Johns just take his time and kick it where he wanted to. Our fullback still be trying to pick it up, and we'd be getting tackled on our try line. And obviously I'm not the smartest, but I'm not stupid either. I knew that means I have to go back further, and that means we've got to come down the field further. So all of those little battles that you're having all the time, I'd always be trying to think about that. And with the footy, it's not about just doing a run. It's about having blokes with you. And blokes aren't going to come with you unless you pass it. So you did have to pass it. Otherwise, they stop coming with you. And by doing that, that then took players off you, so that you could get a quicker play of the ball or an offload or be able to put someone through a hole. So it all started to add to our game as a team. And the more threat, Johnny Ackland used to say, as we are in the middle, the more tries Manu scores out on the wing untouched.
Pricey, how long was the journey or duration of convincing your brother-in-law Brent Tate to come over? Because when I heard he was coming over, I was a huge fan of his. So excited, especially being able to work for Sky and commentate on this guy, because he's a wonderful player to watch.
Yeah, mate. I sort of said to him the same feelings that I had when I left the Bulldogs to come to the Warriors. I said, you at the Broncos is almost exactly the same. I said, you're going to get a real spring in your step over here, mate. I said, you're going to be the leader of the outside backs. The way you do things is really going to change how some of these boys do things, and that's going to really give you some excitement to come to training every day in a different way to what you're doing at the moment at the Broncos. And I still want you to play for Queensland and Australia, and it's a beautiful place to live, and the people are amazing. He was not having to be sold on that part of it, because I didn't stop raving. And my missus, his sister, Joey, she kept raving about it. The kids had always raved to Uncle Brent about how much they loved in New Zealand. And he absolutely loved it, mate. When he came over, it wasn't a real hard decision for him in the end, and it was a real hard decision for him to leave. I think he taught a lot of those young boys so many things about being a professional, and he dealt with some injuries that a lot of other players would have, retired on or finished on, and I was at the Warriors. So the club were really supportive towards him, and I think he did some amazing things as a player, both on and off the field for the club, and that's how he's been received as well, which is great.
Pricey, everyone talks about the Melbourne game when, one gets beaten by 8, but the feat in getting to there was huge in itself. I think you had to win 10 out of 12. Talk to me how it was possible.
We always started slow, and I couldn't understand why, because we'd have amazing pre-seasons, and first game of the year we played in Melbourne against Melbourne. I did my hamstring, I was out for 10 weeks, and we didn't have a lot of success at the start of the year, but then we were able to get that momentum of having the same squad as a combination of weeks together. And that team that played in that semi-final against the Storm, the only reason why we got to play in that was because we played pretty much 12 weeks in a row together. That's how it happened, mate. And we just got more confident, and we started to build as we went, and the belief in that team, I think, was that when we had the beards going. We basically grew the beards, so we weren't going to shave the beards until we lost. I don't grow a very good beard, and I don't like beards, but I went with what we had to do. The game plan we went that day, we executed really, really well, and that was to try and get some offloads and try and break them up a little bit. And whilst there was a semi-final, I don't think they handled it as well as they would have liked. Belly is very discipline orientated, and he picks out certain players that he wants to shut down. And on that day, there was some other players that stepped up that he couldn't shut down, which was great. And that's what happened during that period. Like, it wasn't left up to one or two guys to win us the game. Whitty coming up with that try, some really good work before that. Manu up the sideline, back inside to him. I still can't believe Whitty took time to put the ball on the ground. Just put it down, Whitty. The week after, when we played the Roosters at home and sold out against the Roosters, we weren't expecting finishing 8th to have a home semi-final in the second week of the playoffs against the team that was in the top 4. And then the way that game went, I think we were down 10-0 after about 10 or 12 minutes, or 12-0, whatever it was, and then we come back. I got really emotional. I had to walk around the back of the field to go over to do the toss, and Brad Fittler was the captain of the Roosters, and I did that in the pre-game, and I walked along the dead ball line, and people started cheering Pricey. And I'm walking along, and as they got louder and louder, I'm starting to cry. I got to do the toss, and Freddie's going, "Oh, you're all good, mate." And I'm going, "Oh, mate, I'm so good," and I'm bawling my eyes out. But it was just so emotional because, that just typified how special it was for me in New Zealand. And, to play that game, for us to win that game. I know we lost the next week, and we lost convincingly, but we lost to the team who won the comp.
Sonny Fai. I know you hold him dear and close to you. Talk to me about Sonny, what made him special, and to summarise who he is.
Yeah, his personality, mate. He's one of the greatest, most beautiful souls I've ever met. And as a young man, he had so much energy, so much passion, so much pride. It was a big cuddly bear, but he'd run over people and he'd absolutely belt people with not meaning to. He'd actually whack them, and then he'd want to pick them up and say, "Are you okay?" Sonny Fai was still so young and untapped, and he was just getting better and better all the time. And so sad, but so honoured to have spent the years that I got to spend with him. I used to have parties at the start of every season at my house. We had a karaoke machine one year, so to get people to sing, I got an iPod, a little iPod. Nano. So we're able to get that. Told all the boys this is what the prize was going to be, and Sonny just kept telling me, "Bro, I really want this prize. I haven't got one. They're so expensive. I'm going to win that." And Ruse was on the microphone all night. Standout, really good singing, and he by far was going to be the man. And then Sonny did one song. It was Benga Boys, the Benga Bus, and he started singing, but it was miming. And then instead of continuing on, he just started stripping. And the man was chiseled, man. He was an Adonis. He had the best body. And so the wives voted Sonny Fai was the best singer on the night. So he won the Nano. Bruce was devastated. He did, I think, 30 songs that night. Sonny does one. Pretty much did a strip show, and all the wives voted for him.
Did the club underestimate the effect of losing Sonny 2009?
Yeah, absolutely. At the start of the season, we said we're going to do this for Sonny. We had his name and his number on our jersey. And at the end of that season, I was really embarrassed. If we said we were doing it for Sonny, we didn't make the semi-finals. We didn't play anywhere near as good as we could have or we should have. And I think that was a real reflection of how much of an impact it had on us as a group. And but we were trying to be big, tough footballers and keep it all under control. And we didn't talk about it as much as what we probably could have and should have. We all thought we were there for each other and doing the right thing by each other. But when I look back on it, we're all trying to be big, tough guys. I know we would have changed things for sure if we had our time over again, but that's the way it was, and we would have learned a lot from that as well. It's hard to know what to do, right? So, learn a lot, mate. And probably a reflection on how important he is to us. I don't say was, because he's still with me, and I know he's still with everybody, a lot of other people.
We've had some great props in the club for a very long period of time. Benny Matalino, what was it about him that made him special?
I was really impressed with Benny Matalino as a kid. He'd come on off the bench for me or for Rubes, Van, whoever was starting on that day, and he'd only last 10 or 15 minutes and he'd be gone. And I sort of said, bro, like in training, you beat me in absolutely everything. Like, what is it about in the game that you can't do? We started going through it all. And so all it was mental, okay? And we both know that it was mental, but I was trying to get him to understand what is it, is why that you're really struggling. And I said, as soon as you start to feel tired, think of something else. What have I got to do next? What have I done? What am I doing now? Where am I? We're tackling, we're running. I've got to get a touch of the footy. I've got to support someone. I've got to make a tackle. As soon as you start thinking about that rather than thinking, oh, my God, I'm tired, because your brain's pretty strong. If you're thinking you're tired, guess what? You're tired. And his body language showed that. Ivan had taken him straight off, and I didn't mind that because I hated being off the field, but that wasn't going to be good for Benny's development. And bit by bit, he'd last 17 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And then there was a situation, I don't know whether I was injured or someone got injured pretty early, and he had to play 60 minutes. And he did it. And after that, I said, what happened there, mate? You've just done it. So now you've been to that place. Every time you get back there, you're going to go further. You're going to do it longer. And I got so much pleasure. I left, retired from the Warriors. He started, and Sammy period was exactly the same. He couldn't play longer minutes than 15 or 20. Powerful, explosive, but couldn't go longer. And then both of those guys stepped up. When Rubes and I retired, they both stepped up and became 60, 70, 75, 80-minute front rowers, which is really, really hard to do. And didn't just do it, did it with excellence. Their numbers were up there, but it was the quality of work they did.
Mate, just wanted to summarise your time at the club right now, and Jo was a huge part of it. She was another big part of what we loved about having the Prices at the club.
So if I looked back on my time as a 30-year-old deciding whether I'm going to New Zealand to play for the Warriors, and that was my biggest thing, was I'm going to play for the Warriors. I'm signing a 3-year deal, and it's about footy, and I hope my family really enjoy it because that's going to be important. But if I look back on our 13 years in New Zealand, it was so much more than rugby league, which I can't thank the New Zealand people enough for. I suppose that's what you say about sport. It's a part of the community, and it's so amazing for the community. And I've got to say, when I first arrived in New Zealand, there was so much success the Warriors had previously, but not at that time. The club had come last that year, or equal last. So there wasn't that much excitement about the Warriors in New Zealand, unfortunately, and I got that pretty clear at the start. So to see that change as we went along was so cool, and you would have seen that, mate, when you were there, 01 and all those times when you had so much success. It is such a special place to be when the Warriors are going good, and that's why I hope the boys go really good this year, and every year since I've retired. I really do, because it's such a special place to be for every player, not just Australians, but every player who's playing for the New Zealand Warriors. And by far, it was the greatest experience we've ever had. It was so much more than rugby league.
Pricey, once a Warrior, always a Warrior. You were one of the absolute best to put on the jumper, man. We thank you for your service.
Thanks, Mons. Special, mate.
I'm Monty Beetham. Thank you for watching Once a Warrior, and I'll see you here again next week.
Hits it up for the Warriors. Good carry, great carry. Good run here by Price. Oh, great run, Stephen Price. Price. He got there. Oh, yes. Here's Price into the gap. He gets across. Price bumps off from one, and look at him run. To Price. He puts the hip in. Gets it away. Price got there to charge it down. That's inspirational. Speaking of Hercules, look at Price.